When Ethan and I first met, I used to love how protective he was. The way his jaw tightened whenever another guy looked at me, or how his hand instinctively found mine when we walked into a crowded room. It felt like care. Felt like love. But over time, that protection began to feel like possession, and I started to smirk at it instead of appreciating it. I thought his jealousy was insecurity, something harmless that I could tease him for. Turns out I was wrong. Started small. A comment about a coworker, a harmless joke at dinner, a text notification lighting up my phone. Ethan would stiffen, say nothing, but I could see his mind spinning. I used to roll my eyes, lean in, kiss his cheek and say, "Relax, you're being dramatic." I thought that was enough to settle things. But the truth is, every time I dismissed him, I made him feel smaller. Every time I laughed at his jealousy, I chipped away at something I didn't realize was fragile. His trust. The real turning point came one Friday night. We were at my best friend Megan's house for a small get-together. There were 6 of us, a mix of old friends, a few new faces. One of them, Adam, had just joined our office a few months back. He was funny, easygoing, and maybe a little too charming for his own good. I liked the attention he gave me, the way he complimented my ideas during meetings. I convinced myself it was innocent. Ethan didn't. That night, Adam poured me a glass of wine and made some joke about how Ethan must have to fight off half the office to keep you. I laughed, maybe a little too loudly. Ethan just smiled politely, but I saw the storm brewing behind his eyes. When I looked over, he was staring, not at Adam but at me. That quiet kind of stare that burns more than shouting ever could. Later in the car, he didn't speak for 10 minutes straight. Finally he said, "You enjoy it, don't you? Watching me get angry." I sighed. "Ethan, you're overreacting again. He's just a friend." He shook his head, eyes fixed on the road. "You love pushing me just to see how far you can go." I didn't answer. Maybe because deep down I knew there was truth in what he said. 4 days after that, he was distant. Not cold, just quiet. He stopped checking my phone, stopped asking where I was going, stopped caring, and that silence made me uneasy. It was easier when he was jealous, when I knew he still cared enough to react. Then came Megan's birthday dinner, a big, loud event at a rooftop restaurant downtown. Everyone from our circle was there, including Adam. I remember thinking that night would fix things. I'd planned to show Ethan I was committed, that I loved him, that the teasing was just playful. But fate had other plans. Halfway through dinner, after the laughter, the drinks, and a few harmless inside jokes, Ethan raised his glass. His voice was calm, steady. "To honesty," he said, smiling at the table. "And to finally seeing people for who they really are." Everyone laughed awkwardly, unsure what he meant. Then he looked directly at me. "You know," he continued, "it's funny how secrets have a way of surfacing. Especially when someone forgets to log out of their email." My stomach dropped. He couldn't mean no. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Adam shifted uncomfortably. Megan frowned. Ethan's smile never wavered. "So, cheers to my girlfriend, who swore she never crossed a line," he said, voice tightening, but somehow managed to keep a very personal conversation going with her friend long after work hours. The table went silent. The sound of clinking glasses stopped. My throat went dry. I tried to speak, to explain, to say it wasn't what it looked like, but he was already standing. He placed his glass down gently, nodded to everyone and said, "Enjoy the rest of your night. I'm done." And then he walked away. For a few seconds nobody moved. Megan's eyes darted between me and the door. Adam looked pale. I sat frozen, replaying every message, every joke, every time I'd smirked at his jealousy, thinking it was nothing. That night, I realized the difference between being loved too much and not respecting love enough. But what I didn't realize, at least not yet, was that Ethan's revenge wasn't over. Public humiliation was just the beginning. The night Ethan walked out, I didn't chase him. Maybe because I didn't know what to say. Maybe because I thought he'd cool off and come back. But deep down I think I knew. Something inside him had already shut down long before that rooftop dinner. I spent the next morning scrolling through our old photos, trying to convince myself that we were still fixable. The laughter, the vacations, the lazy mornings in bed. It all felt like another lifetime. I sent him a message. "We need to talk." He didn't respond. Then I called, no answer. By afternoon, his number went straight to voicemail. By evening, I found out what he'd done. He'd packed his things while I was at work. His clothes, his tools, even the small box of keepsakes we shared, gone. But what hit harder was the folded piece of paper he'd left on the kitchen counter. No angry words. No dramatic farewell. Just a single sentence written in his neat, deliberate handwriting. "You wanted to see how far you could push me, now you know." At first, I thought it was just a message of finality. A warning. But then the calls started coming. Megan called first, her voice hesitant. "Did you really send Adam those pictures?" My heart stopped. "What?" She went quiet. "Ethan sent screenshots to everyone in the group chat this morning. The ones you sent Adam last month." My legs gave out. I sat on the kitchen floor, phone shaking in my hand. The air felt heavier with every passing second. I remembered those pictures. Not explicit but personal. Something I'd sent in a weak, attention-seeking moment. Something I told myself was harmless. But Ethan had found them, and now everyone knew. The messages poured in. Some sympathetic. Most weren't. Adam didn't respond at all. He had a girlfriend, someone I didn't even know about until now. And apparently, Ethan had made sure she saw everything too. For 2 days, I didn't leave the apartment. My phone buzzed constantly, but I couldn't bring myself to look anymore. The shame was unbearable. I'd mocked his jealousy, and in return, he'd exposed my carelessness in the most brutal way possible. But what hurt the most wasn't the humiliation. It was that I finally saw the quiet pain I'd caused him reflected in my own. The late nights I ignored his messages, the dismissive laughs, the small betrayals I told myself were harmless flirtations. He'd been watching me drift away, powerless to stop it, until this was the only way left for him to make me understand. A week later I saw him again. Not in person but in a photo on social media. He was standing beside a woman I didn't recognize, smiling in that calm, unbothered way I used to love. The caption read, "Some lessons don't need to be taught twice." My chest tightened. He'd moved on, not to hurt me but to heal himself. And that's when it hit me. What he'd done wasn't revenge. It was closure. His way of saying he was done begging for respect that was never given freely. Months passed. I changed jobs, moved apartments, cut my hair shorter. Small ways to feel like someone new. People eventually stopped whispering. But every now and then, I'd catch a glimpse of Ethan's name online. A new project, a new photo, a new start. He was doing better. And I was still trying to forgive myself. One evening, Megan came over with wine. We sat on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker below. She looked at me and said, "You know, he didn't humiliate you to be cruel. He just wanted you to feel what he felt, unseen." I nodded, staring into my glass. He got what he wanted. I see it now. She smiled softly. "Maybe next time, don't wait until it's too late to appreciate someone who actually cares." That night, after she left, I scrolled through my old messages one last time. I deleted them all. The pictures, the threads, the apologies I never sent. For the first time in months, my phone was silent. And in that silence, I finally understood what Ethan meant when he said I'd pushed him too far. It wasn't about jealousy. It was about respect. The kind you don't realize you've lost until someone walks away with it, and never looks back.